James Williams, and my recent book is called Stand Out of Our Light, Freedom and Resistance in the Attention Economy, just been published by Cambridge University Press. And the general question the book is looking at is what are the implications of the competition for attention as kind of the dominant business model of the internet for our political lives, for society, for success in our individual lives, and how can we start to think about changing the system so that we can kind of bring technology back onto our side rather than being adversarial against us and persuading us in all these various ways. I think there's different types of freedom here. One, I think, is just at the level of kind of distraction as we normally think about it, doing the things we want to do. I think there it's about making technologies aware of our intentions, our goals, and then requiring them to be designed in ways that privilege that. I think on a deeper level, there are questions of alignment with our values that we have, questions of helping us kind of become the ideal self that we want to become, helping us tell the story of our own lives, not fitting into the story that somebody else wants our lives to follow. And then I think on the deepest level, there's a kind of freedom of attention or freedom of mind that has to do with the capacities that we have to figure out who we want to be, what we want to do. So things like having that time to reflect, having the sorts of discussions in society that are the democracy assumes that are conducive to the kind of society we want to have, rather than the sorts of conversations that are polarized and speak to sort of our outrage, our kind of the moral tribalism in us, as opposed to the ideal kind of nature, the better nature that we want to aspire to. The Time Well Spent campaign is one that I've worked on with a few colleagues over the last few years, and basically the idea is that if today technologies are trying to get us to spend more time with them, kind of competing for our time and attention, if we could get them to compete to add some kind of benefit to our lives rather than just take up our time and attention, that would be a kind of realignment of technology with our own interests. And so it's been heartening over the last couple of years to really see the way in which these questions have become front and center for society, maybe for tech companies as well. I think there's an opportunity to make sure we don't kind of just move on to something else, that we actually follow this through, and that we actually put the structural, systemic elements in place that can minimize, if not eliminate, the competition for our attention being an acceptable business model. I think studying distraction and persuasion and how technology, how it kind of exploits various weaknesses that we have cognitively, it's certainly made me more aware of those dynamics. I think we can never overcome them. Just being conscious of them isn't enough. Aldous Huxley had a great line where he said, we can't reason ourselves out of our basic irrationality. We can only try to become irrational in a reasonable way. And so I think what that means, I think, is changing your environment to kind of nudge you into the kind of the life, the sort of behaviors you want to have. And so I've done some of that. I mean, it's never as much as I would want, or as I think people would expect when they ask me the question. So I don't hold myself up as a kind of model to be followed, or moral or practical exemplar in this way. But it certainly made me more aware of it in myself and others. I mean, I think good law is built on a good foundation of moral philosophy, and I think we've seen cases where technology has been well regulated, and I think in an ideal world, regulation is just about saying, here's what technologies ought to do and why, and sort of creating a clarity, kind of defining the playing field on which they operate. I think the problem is that a lot of the ethics and laws have been focused on the ways in which technologies manage information, and much less so on the ways technologies manage our attention or shape our lives, our decisions, etc. And so I think that there's an opportunity now to really focus on that at the level of ethics as well as law. When it does a certain type of design undermine the individual's will, their autonomy, when does it undermine political will of people? I think these are very urgent questions in my view, and I think they're ones that hopefully societies can advance really quickly. I think the media theorist Marshall McLuhan said we drive looking through the rearview mirror. I think the conversations we're having about this stuff now are the ones we should have been having 5 to 10 years ago. I think there's this whole new crop of emergent technologies, devices, especially these devices people are putting in their homes, like Amazon Alexa, Google Home. When you personify it as an agent, it opens up whole new realms of persuasive potential. And I think that there's really an opportunity now at the initial adoption moment of those technologies to ask the fundamental questions: what do we want them to do for us? How do we know if they're not doing that? What are they actually designed to do? And I think for the social media platforms, I don't like using the term social media because it implies they're designed to promote sociality. I think it's probably too late to meaningfully change those. I mean, it would really require just a complete change in the business model of these companies, and it's possible, but I think it'll be a hard task to get there. So I think focusing on not where we are now, but where we're going to be in 5 or 10 years, I think is probably time better spent in thinking about all of this.
Okay.